Hey, Chicago, what do you say? Welcome into the CHGO Cubs Podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the app and use promo code CHGO when you sign up. Hello and welcome into Cubs pregame. The Cubs and Marlins kicking off from beautiful historic Wrigley Field at 1:20 this afternoon. My name is Corey Friedman. I am joined by Cody Del Mendo. I, of course, am filling in for the venerable Luke Stuckmeyer. I will do my best not to disappoint. Cody, we've got a big day here, so we'll take you through the pregame here, and then Cody and I will be back, hopefully joined by Ryan Herrera in the postgame after hopefully a nice Cubs win. But as you guys talked on the emergency podcast yesterday, Matt Mervis is up. Matt Mervis is in the Chicago Cubs lineup, and Matt Mervis is hopefully going to be dropping bombs onto Sheffield Avenue outside of beautiful historic Wrigley Field all weekend and for the rest of the season, Cody.
Yeah, I like the way you explain it right there, Corey. Why not? Let's start off today. I don't want Luke to win who you got, but, I also want the Cubs to win, so whatever. It's exciting day, right? I'm trying to think of the last time an anticipated debut like this happened. And I'm not saying that it has the same type of expectations, but I want to say the last time I was this excited about a prospect was Kris Bryant.
Yeah.
But again, doesn't have the same type of expectations. I don't expect Mervis to be anything close to what Kris Bryant was. But as far as excitement and like a spark that a team needs, that's the vibe I'm getting. So I'm really excited about today. We're coming off losing 3 or 4 of the Nationals. Can't believe it actually happened, but the Cubs need a spark. They need a change of vibes. And I'm hoping Mervis at least gives you quality at bats that doesn't hurt you late in games like some guys have in recent days that we've talked about.
Yeah, I mean, we'll look at, the full lineup. We'll talk about the pitching matchup. Obviously, this is a pitcher that the Cubs just saw last weekend in Miami and struck out a healthy amount of times. We do have a super chat from Steven up here in the live YouTube chat. Appreciate that, Steven. Ball's about to be mashed. It's Merv Papa time. It is.
Hit the like button for Matt Mervis.
It's, like you were saying, it's a very anticipated debut, obviously, given his trajectory in the minors. Certainly something that we felt this 2023 team needed, but, this is a guy that has the potential to be a mainstay at the first base position and on this Cubs team for quite a while here. So it's got some pretty significant, organizational ramifications here, of course, and as was the case with Kris Bryant's debut back in 2015, which didn't go that well, right?
No,
against the San Diego Padres. It's just one game. His parents are in town. There may be a little bit of pressure. Not sure how Mervis is feeling, but. Right, we hype it up because he's here. We're excited. We're here, but it's just one game. It's a long season. He's going to settle in there. We have some quotes from our guy Ryan Herrera. Talking about Eric Hosmer being accepting of this role, moving to the bench. Mervis is going to play. He's going to get his shot here, and we're all very excited about that. Luke in the chat. I'm wearing Mervis blue. Sure, whatever that is.
I like Matt's comment. Cinco de Mayo, Mervis debut, steal on the bump Friday 1:20 #vibes.
Yeah, and it's 75 and sunny here in Chicago. I
was kind of sweating because I picked you up on the way here. I had the windows down today, and I wasn't cold, but I was actually kind of hot because the weather's so nice. So yeah, it's a perfect day.
It's a perfect day for the vibes to be as good as possible. And look, it was a rough road trip. 1-6 on the road trip. Lost a ton of one-run games. I think the Cubs now 2-7 in one-run games on the season. But 15-16, the division is really struggling. Just as a collective whole, everybody is losing. So it's everything is still up for grabs. You turn the ship around to start May here, and everything there's a lot of runway left in this season. But let's talk about Matt Mervis and making his debut. Cody, he gets the call. He's in there at first base for his major league debut. And you look at some of the information, like this was one of those things. We talked about Christopher Morel a lot in comparison to Matt Mervis and just how we were kind of feeling about everything, right? And the one thing that sets Mervis apart, not just that he plays first base and that kind of thing, but his peripherals in the minors were just so good. That of someone who clearly has done all that he can at that level. And I'm looking at an interesting number from Sam Dykstra on Twitter. He says, since 2022, there have been 129 players with at least 350 plate appearances at the AAA level. Matt Mervis' .583 slugging percentage and .973 OPS lead that group, and he's the only one to slug at least .550 while striking out less than 16% of the time. For a large portion of this AAA season, his walk rate was better than his K rate. I think it's like before he was called up, it was a percent difference. He was striking out at like 17%, walking at 16%. That is so impressive for a guy that is hitting with that level of power to be able to do it with such quality plate appearances.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about him having a higher walk rate than his K rate. I want to say, if not last week, the week before on one of our post-game shows, because I was probably going on some tangent about how he was due to be here, or how he should be here. And, I think that's the most impressive thing. And the people who were like, oh, this, he was not a top 100 guy. He's not, he's not even in the top 5 of the Cubs, top 30. Like, I don't care. I mean, no one thought Christopher Morel was like, he wasn't a big, highly touted prospect.
Right.
And we're like clamoring for him to be. He's the only one left we're still clamoring for. Hayden Wisniewski wasn't a top level prospect, and we've seen really good, we've seen not so good, and he's trying to figure it out. Like, just because you're not a top 25, top 30 in all baseball prospect doesn't mean that you can't be a good major leaguer. And that's why I said earlier where I said the anticipation reminds me of Chris Bryant, but I'm not putting those kinds of expectations because Chris Bryant literally dominated baseball at every level he ever played with.
If Mervis doesn't win the Rookie of the Year and then the MVP the next year when the Cubs win the World Series,
he's a failure. So, he from the start of last season in the minor leagues, when he started in High A, I want to say he started at South Bend, made it to Double A, and then finished the year in Triple A. I mean, he has been the talk of the Cubs farm system outside of Pete Crow Armstrong. And to see what he did last year and then to only get better this year, which is hard to say considering he was so good last year, it's very, credit to him, because there was one point in the minor leagues where he was not good at all. I saw our friend Greg Huss quote tweet one of his old tweets of Mervis hitting a walk-off, I think in Myrtle Beach back in 2021, and his slash line at the time, I don't have it in front of me, so I don't remember, but it wasn't good. And I think Greg said in his tweet today, when he quote tweeted, saying, this was right around the time where I thought Mervis was going to turn the corner or something like that, or he started to get on, like, catch my eye. So, as I've said before, I've never been like the prospect guru. I don't watch minor league baseball on an everyday basis like a lot of people, so I don't try to act like I know what I'm talking about.
They don't have Delmetrics cameras in the minor league stadiums. They don't. Yeah, kind of like Statcast.
I trust my friend Greg Huss when it comes to what he's talking about, because I know he puts in a lot of work. So, again, he came out of Duke and he struggled. He went undrafted, even though it was a five round draft. All of these things go into why he probably wasn't ranked as a top prospect. But again, it's been a really, really good year, as in last season, and then a good month. So that's partly why my expectations are a little tempered, because as great as he's been, it's not like he's been doing this for years. So that's kind of my advice for everyone, is to be excited, hope and pray that he exceeds your expectations if you're putting them low like me. But at the same time, just know that if he doesn't start off so great, that doesn't mean that he's a bust either.
Yeah,
so
and
got to give him some time.
We have a YouTube comment from Levi_TV in the chat, and he says, I think the expectations for Mervis are too high amongst the fan base. I'm excited, but really it's because he represents potential instead of watching Hosmer. I think it's a fair way to look at it, right?
Fair.
Like, to put the expectation that Mervis is going to come up and immediately fill the shoes of one Anthony Vincent Rizzo is a lot. That's a lot to ask. Yeah. Mervis has been incredible in the minor leagues. He has earned this opportunity, and the reason that we talk a lot about the walk and K-rate stuff in addition to his power numbers is friend of the podcast, Alex Cohn, broadcaster for the Iowa Cubs, was saying, like, whether he comes up and struggles immediately or looks exactly like this and is just, now he's your, 4 or 5 hitter for the rest of the year, doesn't matter. He has earned this. His work and his profile in the minor leagues warrants this call-up, warrants this playing time, and like Levi says, it is at a position that the Cubs were getting very poor production and have the opportunity to give Mervis a shot to do better than that, which he represents obviously a huge potential to do. But just like any player that comes up, like, there's going to be successes, there's going to be struggles, there's going to be adjustments. It's the beginning of what is hopefully a very long career. It doesn't have to start incredibly. It doesn't have to start poorly, right? Yeah. It's every day at a time, and he'll develop, and I think it'll eventually all come together. We do have a couple of tweets from our guy Ryan Herrera, Ryan_A_Herrera, who is at the ballpark today. He noted that Matt Mervis's parents were actually on the way to Columbus to watch him with the Iowa Cubs, and Matt had to call them at the airport and have them kind of change their plans. I believe they ended up driving to Chicago. He told them, you have to head somewhere else. We have a different thing we have to do. But we also have Ryan, who was at the ballpark. He's got Matt Mervis and a little bit from Jed Hoyer. So did want to give you guys the opportunity to hear what Jed Hoyer had to say about Matt Mervis making his debut on Friday.
I'm not sure those words matter. I think each guy's going to have to discover that for himself. Some guys block out the noise and the distractions exceptionally well. Some guys that impacts them. I think that it's a big jump going from being in AAA in Iowa to the big leagues with the expectations and the pressure. And I think every guy handles it differently. I'm not sure any word of advice that that we give is going to be that right one. I think that we have to believe in the makeup, and I think we do it in Matt's case, that he's going to keep doing the things that got him here, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah, I don't know what else you would expect Jed Hoyer to say in that situation, but I'm curious how he handles these expectations. I also feel like he might have a chip on his shoulder, because I think he fully believes that he hasn't proved anything to anyone yet in the grand scheme. So if you want to spin it, you want the old-fashioned spin zone from me, there you go. But today will be I won't be surprised if he doesn't have a great game today, just because there's just a lot of media surrounding him today.
Sure.
But would love for him to have a good game. It would just be a memorable day for all of us, and for him and his family especially. So
yeah, and we can look at the lineup now for the Cubs and talk about obviously his placement in it. This is sort of what I expected, right? David Ross sort of easing him into the lineup a little bit. He's going to hit 7th. Again, he is playing first base, but the Cubs lineup for today, Joey, if we can throw that up. Nico Horner, of course, leading off. Dansby Swanson, Ian Happ, Seiya Suzuki, Cody Bellinger. Trey Mancini is your DH today. Matt Mervis playing first base. Patrick Wisdom at third. And Miguel Amaya is catching for you. Now, Cody, Matt Mervis wearing number 22, a number that has a pretty solid level of significance, at least in our lifetimes, for the guys who have worn that number. I do like it. I like a first baseman wearing a lower number, same digits. I like the way it looks. And I like him hitting lower in this lineup. I think eventually, obviously, if the power is there and playing at the MLB level, you'd like him to be hitting higher. But this, lessen the pressure a little bit. And just looking at it, right, like one of the things that we've talked about a lot, Cubs Twitter has talked about a lot, pretty much everybody that talks and covers this team has talked about, is bring up your best 26-man roster, play your best 9. Yan Gomes is out on the short-term IL, just making sure he's okay after taking that backswing to the helmet. But I think with the roster the Cubs have right now, is it their exact best 26? Maybe not yet,
not
right?
fully.
But with the group that they have in that dugout at Wrigley Field today, I think this is pretty close to their best 9 guys. Yeah. And I love that Miguel Amaya is continuing to get an opportunity while he's up here and getting the chance to catch Justin Steele today.
Yeah. Yesterday I was kind of bummed. We did the emergency podcast that was devoted mainly to Mervis, but I was kind of bummed we didn't get to do post-game. 1, because they lost 3-4, so I was angry anyway. But 2, because I wanted to talk about Amaya. I thought he looked really good defensively as a catcher. He looked real comfortable back there catching Tyone and Javier Assad. Mm-hmm. Now he gets to catch Justin Steele today, which I lean to believe he probably has before at some point in the minors. I could be completely wrong about that, but I'm just going to assume that that's something, and that's why he's probably catching today. But yeah, no, I like the bottom of the lineup for one of the first times this season. I like the bottom of the lineup.
Yeah,
I think I almost got the lineup correct. I tweeted my own what I wanted the lineup to be last night, and I think I had.
You were close.
I was close. I had Wisdom 6th and Mancini 8th, but then I also replied to it in my own thread saying that you could flip-flop those 2, and I'd be okay with that too. So, and it's not like rocket science that I almost got it right, because the top 5-6 guys have been the same basically all season. But I felt like if you put Mervis in the spot that Eric Hosmer's been hitting in all year, you'll get better results. And that's what I want. I just want Mervis to give better results than Eric Hosmer. And considering how Eric Hosmer was playing, it ain't going to be very hard for him to do that, as long as he brings some power and shows an ability to work some walks or any way to get on base, really. If he does that, if he's outperforming what Eric Hosmer was doing, you're content with that. You're pretty happy with that, with a rookie first baseman that has never played at the major league level before. So, again, that I guess in the grand scheme, that's kind of my expectations. Just play better than Eric Hosmer. That doesn't mean go out there and, have a 1,000 OPS and hit 30 bombs in a year or whatever. That would be nice.
Yeah.
But, just give quality at bats and perform better than what Hosmer was.
At the time that the decision was made, right? Again, as I noted, our guy Ryan Herrera spoke with Jed and David Ross, and Eric Hosmer knows he's settling into more of a bench role to continue to be the veteran presence that we've heard about in the clubhouse, but Mervis is going to play. They stated this today. This is not a situation where a week from now we're going to be saying, why is Mervis up and playing what? They said he's going to play. At the time of this decision, Eric Hosmer has a 79 WRC plus and has been a sub-replacement level player, negative 0.2. So it's a low bar. In terms of production, you want Mervis to be really good, right? And just be a really good Major League Baseball player. But in terms of just production for this team, it's a pretty low bar for him to be better than what they were getting from Eric Hosmer. So any production better than that should be helpful for this group.
And Mancini's starting to hit over the last handful of weeks. So, with him hitting and then just getting better production from Mervis can be a really big thing for this team moving forward, because all we've talked about is how first base and DH has just been kind of the thorn in this team early on this year. So you're hoping that Mervis can at least give you league average stuff from an offensive perspective. So
yeah. So looking at today's pitching matchup, it is Justin Steele versus Edward Cabrera for the Marlins, who the Cubs did see in that series in Miami. 5 innings from Cabrera. He allows 3 hits. One of those is a home run to Patrick Wisdom, 2 earned runs, 5 walks, which is a lot, but the Cubs obviously only converted that to 2 earned runs, and they struck out 12 times against Cabrera. So that is definitely something to look for today. And, of course, taking the mound for the Chicago Cubs is one Justin Steele, who has been one of the best pitchers in baseball since the All-Star break of 2022. Wherever you kind of want to put that on the calendar, he has been lights out. He comes into this game with a 1.49 ERA on the season. Justin Steele has been great, as was the story for most of that road trip, right? Like, the Cubs obviously don't want to strike out 12 times again, and you're hoping that this is just not a similar kind of roadmap of a game that we saw over the last week, where we expect Justin Steele to be really good, but then we're spending 9 innings asking ourselves if the offense is going to score enough to allow Justin's performance to get them the win, right? So that's pretty much the story. 12 strikeouts is an awful lot.
He walked 5, though.
Yeah, so you're going to want to be patient. I think our guy Mike Dubs was in the chat. The wind is blowing out. Our friends at Wrigley Winds on Twitter say 11 miles per hour blowing out to left field. So maybe Matt Mervis goes to Waveland, goes Oppo for his first one.
If he hits one on the Waveland Oppo. What?
2 beers in the beer bbat.
Yeah, 2 beers in the beer bat.
Look, Cabrera is coming into this game with a 4.67 ERA, 2-2 record on the year in 27 innings. So he hasn't been great, a 1.74 whip. So guys are getting on against him. The Cubs just failed to get them in that last game. So you're going to want to see them be patient and just do a better job of putting the ball in play. You know, as we've noted at times for the last several years of Cubs baseball, right? Like, sometimes good things can happen when you put the ball in play. If you strike out 12 times, you're pretty limited in what you can see happen.
Yeah, no, that's if you don't remember Cabrera's last start against the Cubs got the bases loaded with no outs multiple times and only came away with 1 run.
Extremely frustrating.
I was very angry at Butcher's tap on Southport that day. They got off to a bad start because that was the game Killian pitched too.
Yes,
and he gave up 5 earned runs in the first inning. Cubs ended up coming back, losing 7-6. If they just had gotten a few of those runs in when they had the opportunity, they probably win that game easily, considering how the Marlins blew that game. But and the Cubs bullpen held it down after Killian came out. So today you got Steele, who also pitched well against the Marlins on last Sunday. They lost in a walk-off fashion, unfortunately. Another 1-1 loss. So you're looking for him to, keep doing what he's doing. On top of, just my big thing is just scoring with runners in score position. You got to score runs.
Yeah.
You got to score runs. The starting rotation's been too good to be 1-6 in our last 7. You know what I mean? They got to score runs when they have the opportunity, and that's the big thing. And hopefully, again, that's why Mervis is here, is to help, probably try and help that out a little bit. So,
well, and really, it was true in that Washington series as well. Like, there were just so many opportunities where you just needed that one base hit or that one, bases clearing double to just put a crooked number on the board. So many opportunities left on the bases, runners on second and third with no outs, bases loaded, no outs, and not converting on any of it. That was just killing them in all those one-run games. So hopefully the length in the lineup helps that. I before we get to who you got, and then we'll get out of here so we can all watch the game at 1:20 here, I see a lot of conversation in our YouTube chat about Mervis's defense. And I think the reports on him are that he's okay there. He may be average, maybe a little below average, depends on who you talk to. First of all, he's here to hit, right? He's here to hit. The 2 guys that the Cubs have been trying there otherwise, in Trey Mancini and Eric Hosmer, do not rate well. If you're looking at the defensive metrics, they're not good at it either, right? So it's a similar position where, like, I don't think he could be any worse.
Right.
And also, that's why you got to call him up. That was one of the things where, like, you want him here now for the 2023 team, but for his career and beyond and how he factors into whenever the next great Cubs team is, you need him getting MLB reps, catching balls from Dansby Swanson and Nico Horner and getting better. So, maybe he's not there yet, but that's why he needs to be up and playing these games at Wrigley Field and getting major league experience for the future, not just for today. So, last thing before who you got, I think it was in the chat and I've seen it on Twitter, I love the youth just in this game.
Yeah.
Justin Steele, homegrown talent on the mound. Miguel Amaya, homegrown talent behind the plate, catching, homegrown talent. Justin Steele on the mound. You're one of your big prospects, one of the big hype guys, the moves we all wanted to see. Matt Mervis making his debut, playing at first base. Vibes are good, Cody.
And
the vibes are good.
And Nico Horner and Ian
Of
Happ.
course, yes.
Yeah.
We have a super chat from our WB team. He says, "What's up, Cody? Amaya is going to smack a home run today." Love that.
What's up, Alex?
Love that. So
I joined this guy who runs this YouTube account. His name's Alex. I join his Twitter Spaces sometimes and rant about the Cubs when I'm pissed. So shout out to you.
You
man.
rant about the Cubs
Yeah, sometimes
on your free time?
in my free time.
All right. So who you got, and then we will get out of here.
Craig says he agrees with Luke's replacement,
Hey, thanks, Craig.
which I think is Corey.
Yeah, I appreciate that. You should agree with me.
At least no one thinks you're Luke Stuckmeyer's son.
I am not Luke Stuckmeyer's son. That is, of course, Kevin, who is indeed Luke Stuckmeyer's son.
Absolutely.
Wait, is that a
fact.
thing?
That's a thing.
Yes. That's a Delmetrics fact right there.
Delmetrics.
So
Don't let the facts
who
get
you
away
got
with the story.
for today? Luke, even though he is not here, made the pick very early for Matt Mervis.
Before the lineup even
Before
came
we
out.
even were sure he would be in the lineup,
Yeah.
making his debut today. I have Ian Happ, Ryan Herrera taking Dansby Swanson, and Cody is taking Patrick Wisdom. I like the Wisdom pick a little more. I didn't look at the wind. I like the wind. He hit a homer off Cabrera in that first start, so I do like that. But a spoiler alert for Luke Stuckmeyer, who's at home today. You don't control who wins today, so
Can I make my pick?
yes, Joey has Tucker Barnhart off the bench.
No, I do not have Tucker Barnhart. That's not even funny. Why would you say that? I
you
will
can't.
open it up to the chat for help between two players. I'm torn here. On one hand, Nico hasn't been picked. He's in the lineup, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nico, top of the order, just an absolute staple. On the other hand, Amaya in front of his first Wrigley crowd? Kidding me?
Sure.
I'll take Amaya. Lock it in.
Taking Amaya.
He's not even asking the chat.
Joey is taking Amaya.
Thank you,
Mike Dubs
chat.
in the chat is taking
But I'm
Justin
taking
Steele.
Amaya.
Spat Math is taking Amaya.
We can't take
Dubs is
pictures
taking
anymore,
Steele.
but our friend
Yeah.
Mike Dubs can.
We are no longer taking pictures.
That is the deal. It is Justin Steele and Cabrera for the Marlins at beautiful historic Wrigley Field coming up here at 1:20. Matt Mervis makes his debut, as Joey said. Miguel Amaya playing in front of his first Wrigley Field crowd. Cubs coming off a 1-6 road trip, hoping to turn things around here with a warm homestand here in Chicago at Wrigley Field. Cody and I will be back for Cubs postgame immediately following, hopefully a Cubs W. We hope to be joined by Ryan Herrera. You can follow him for all the in-game updates at Ryan_A_Herrera. We will see you guys in a few hours, hopefully flying the W and seeing Cody drink a wonderful Goose Island 312 out of the Victory beer bat. Don't forget to use that code CHGO when you sign up at DraftKings, America's top-rated sportsbook. Thank you guys for joining the CHGO Cubs pregame show. We will see you in a couple hours, and go Cubs.